Hi, thank you for joining me for another episode from Seeing the Cinema. I'm your host, Darius Dawson, and today I'm going to be talking about budgeting and fundraising. Mainly budgeting, a little bit of fundraising. So, for my films, I mainly self finance and then I do some crowdsourcing. A couple of different platforms out there are, I believe, GoFundMe, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and these are all great. You should know different things about them. I believe Kickstarter. Correct. I haven't checked it out in a while, but Kickstarter, it's kind of like an all or nothing kind of deal. It's kind of like if you want to raise 2,000, you got to raise 2,000, or you don't get anything. Indiegogo is a little bit more flexible, so a lot of filmmakers, kind of has been leaning towards Indiegogo. And then GoFundMe is one that's pretty new to me, so I'm not quite sure all the ins and outs, but what you want to do is like have a network. Hopefully, you have a network as a filmmaker, either fellow filmmakers, your family, or maybe some people with some money. You got a rich uncle or something like that. And a lot of times, that's who your main kind of funders are. And then if you kind of like have a niche market, a lot of times that will help a lot. So it's like if you're into sci-fis, if you're into like African American cinema, or you're into Persian cinema, a lot of times those communities are going to be more likely to fund you. Grants, especially for different types of ethnic groups, like there's grants for Jewish filmmakers, grants for Asian Americans, grants for African Americans. Those are also great with raising funds. A lot of these funds, a lot of these grants, they want to see your script, your budget, and everything like that. So from the very beginning, once you've like got a film kind of done and everything, you should start looking at what kind of applies to you. Personally, as I said before, personally I do a lot of self-financing, and that's mainly because there's a lot of freedom with self-financing. I'm really interested in a lot of non-narrative, not necessarily abstract or documentary films, but a lot of my stuff teeters on the non-narrative side, where it's not so much follows your kind of narrative structure. So a lot of times I do. Kind of shy away from a lot of programs because I just want to kind of get out there and make it, which isn't necessarily a good thing, I'll admit, but that's how I do things. I'm in film school, and that's one of the reasons why I'm able to actually pull this off. A lot of times our funds are what we need to survive. So film school gives me a space to make mistakes and to get a refund check. My wife and I are both in school, so I'll use all of my money for making my films, and then my wife will kind of like support us for those couple months. As far as like downstream goes, so this film and my last film, Trash, are actually pretty close in budget. I shot Trash on film, so I had that kind of added cost of the film stock processing in telecine, and this film downstream is just bigger in nature. So somehow they ended up being around the same price. Once I finish a script, a lot of times the thing I go to next isn't exactly budget. I think a lot of people do it like that, but what I go into is like finding the right actors and then kind of finding the location. A lot of times, I've already got the location in mind, but sometimes I have to go and search. So budgeting usually comes in like kind of halfway through the process, and my producer Robin, who produces all my stuff for me, she's super flexible with kind of helping me figure things out, because I like to be really like I feel like I'm like a method director. I've got to get dirty. I've got to be in there. And a lot of times it's a super small crew, and we're just out there kind of all rocking it together. But it's always a great experience. So I think it is. No one's told me otherwise. So the biggest expenditures you'll face as an independent filmmaker are insurance, which is another reason why school is great, because a lot of times insurance is provided for you. So insurance, travel, because a lot of times I have to fly in people. My last film, we did in South Carolina. No one from the crew or cast lived in South Carolina, so everybody had to be flown in. So that was a big one. And then lodging, if need be. If you're in a place where you have access to a lot of other fellow filmmakers or actors, it's great. Everybody gets to go home at the end of the day, and all you're doing is paying for meals or just like gas or something like that. which a lot of times on this level should influence how you do things. Just kind of figure out what is the core of what you're trying to say and make it work for your budget. After the film is done, there's plenty of resources out there, finishing funds, post funds, and just like festivals that have prizes for you to be able to kind of remake some of that money that you've spent on your film. So definitely, I think look out for those. Look for the things that's going to kind of give you something in addition to kind of getting some exposure. I think that's the main thing with film festivals is getting exposure, widening your network, and making your next film a little bit easier, hopefully, to make. So that's all I've got on financing and crowdfunding. I think it's a lot of searching and weights and measures and balancing. What's needed to tell the story. And sometimes, if it doesn't fit in your budget, you've got to figure out a way to say the same thing without, spending that money which you don't have. Thanks for joining me for another episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on all your various social media things. I've been Darius Dawson. Peace.